Alright, if you're still watching this, that means your head did not explode. Um, which, if it did, of course, your family or your closest friend will hopefully, or your spouse or whoever is nearest to you, will hopefully find your body and rewind this and see that the experiment was indeed successful. So with that being said, if whoever's watching this did accidentally, well, not necessarily accidentally, but if their head did in fact explode, please comment and tell us about that. If you also noticed any physiological changes, like maybe your heart pulsing or you're getting a headache or anything like that, anything at all, please comment on this video and let us all know. That would be very interesting. With that being said, I am one of the few mentalists in the world who is legally insane. At least that's what I think. I haven't actually been tested yet, but as a student of psychology, I tend to think that it might actually be the case. And that might explain both my charming persona and a few of these little spasmy things I get at night, and the voices in my head. It would also explain those, of course. With that being said, I'm one of the few mentalists in the world who actually thinks that cards actually have a place in magic still, or actually specifically in mentalism. Cards, as you know, are actually one of the most commonly used tools in mentalism. They are very commonly associated with it. In fact, that is probably the most common association for cards, aside from gambling. And also you have the rabbit that you pull out of the hat and all those fun things. But with that being said, we're going to do an interesting little bit of, we're going to do an intuitive exercise here.
Alright, now I'm in here with Hunter. Say hi, Hunter. You have to. It is We're eating at East Coast Wings, and like I said in the video, or the earlier part of the video that I'm now editing, yeah, we're doing an intuitive experiment now. I was talking about cards earlier and their relation to mentalism and how I think they still have a place in the art. I mean, typically it's associated with magic more so. But with all that said, what you're going to do in a moment when I snap my fingers, not a moment before I snap my fingers, you're going to think of any card in the 52 cards of the deck, preferably not like a common picture card or something like the Ace of Spades, but just a number card, for example. Like you'll think of the number first and then the suit. You'll take several moments and think hard and just let the image of the card form in your mind. Go on your first impressions. If you don't go on your first impressions, this probably won't work. So, with that being said, I want you to prepare yourself. Just get in a relaxed frame of mind. In fact, you can imagine a chalkboard in front of you as you do this, and just I want you to stare into that chalkboard and get ready for the first card that comes to your mind to just snap in there right when I snap my fingers. Now you can take several moments and think hard right now. Okay, hopefully you've got a card. Think hard, think hard. Just let it come to you. Alright, now, hopefully you've got a card by now, otherwise you're probably hopeless. Anyways, yeah, it's interesting to me how suggestible people are. I'm not going to insult your intelligence and pretend like I'm reading your mind from afar or something, like reading your mind through the internet or some crap. Especially because there's so many of you and it would be impossible to do that. Now, typically in a standard mentalism demonstration, the mentalist will sit with the client or the person he's trying to entertain, or the people, and he or she will proceed to divine the person's thoughts or whatever the effect is. Now, you can't really do that here because this is a more of an interactive thing. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys that our thoughts, and this is what's so interesting to me about this, sometimes we have to wonder if our thoughts are really our own thoughts or if we're actually being influenced by the things around us. And on some level we are, but I think we have to ask how powerful that is. Now, if you thought of hearts, for example, right, then that would suggest that you were a warm and kind person in life typically, but with a bit of suggestion I can force you to think of hearts. So I'm going to go ahead and say that most people probably thought of hearts right now. Now, some of you may have not thought of it, but you can still benefit from this video and go back through it and look and try and notice all the little bits of suggestion that I may have thrown in. But yeah, most people would have thought of parts. And something interesting to me is we also have very, very predictable patterns of thinking. And I know a lot of mentalists have capitalized on this before. But for example, in this particular effect, most people, I mean, some may not have thought of this particular number, but most people would have thought of 7, the 7 of parts. Now, this isn't necessarily a hard and fast rule, but most people would have thought of it. Now, what's interesting to me is some other people probably thought of 2, 5, and 9. So it could have been the 2 of hearts, 5 of hearts, or 9 of hearts. Some people will think of that, but most people will think of 7. The interesting thing about the people who think of 2 of hearts, typically they have low self-esteem, because they're at the smaller end of the spectrum. That's the first thing that pops into their mind. But they're still looking for some sort of emotional connection. When I make them think of something on an impromptu level, they will think of a lower sort of thing, which kind of reflects their low self-esteem, and that's the 2 of hearts. With the 5 and 9, you have some very interesting characters. And I like to call them the weirdos, the ones that pick 5 and 9. The weirdos, typically, they have certain dark fetishes that we can analyze through. Thank you very much. A mix of psychoanalysis and numerology, and those people are the ones that typically would have dark fetishes for what I might call necrophilia and castration fetishes, which that's kind of interesting. I can't believe you guys are actually in public. But yeah, I do recommend medical or probably psychological attention, and I do actually charge a fee, but it's reasonable, I'd say. Anyways, I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. If the card that I said was what you thought of, comment, like, subscribe to the channel. You can go back through the video and see if you can notice all the bits of suggestion, and comment with that as well. But I hope you enjoyed this, and this is the end. I'm going to enjoy my phone.